What is up, my veggies? My name is VeggieTales Rayman, and welcome back to another movie review. And I am literally recording this right after my last review. So today we're going to be reviewing. What are we reviewing today? Oh yes, we are reviewing the remake that I believe came out this year. Was it this year? I believe it was this year. I'm like 95% certain it was this year. Yeah, it was this year. The remake of Pet Cemetery. And for the first little bit of this, I'm just gonna jump into talking about the movie itself. For the first bit of this movie, it's pretty slow, but it's like not. It doesn't really grab my attention as much as it did in the original. It does, but I will say one thing about the pacing of this movie. The pacing of this movie is a lot better. It does take a little bit for something interesting to happen, but it is, and there's actually a lot more. I feel like a lot more connection with the family in this version, so that's really cool. And you can tell from the get go, there's a lot more focus on the daughter, Ellie, I believe was her name, than there was in the original. There's a lot more focus on her, and I think that's really interesting that they decided to go with that. Now, honestly, obviously, I've heard this. I've been told this one is more accurate to the book than the original movie, so I don't know how true that is because I haven't read the book myself, but I'm just reviewing this as a remake of the original. And obviously there is some stuff that I liked that they did differently, and there is some stuff I didn't like, because with a remake you're gonna have that. This is like the fourth reboot I've reviewed like in the past like 6-7 months. Or I don't know how many remakes I've reviewed. But the fact that this movie took some risks, and surprisingly, there's some surprising dialogue in this movie that I did not expect to hear in this film. There was some characters that were really interesting. Some nitpicks I had about the first one were fixed, like the fact that with the ghost thing that was in the original, that's fixed. It's just like a voice now, and I like that a lot better than them trying to put like the actual guy there. So I like that a lot better. Obviously with being in 2019, the effects were a lot better. I don't think I really saw any CGI in this movie. There might have been, but I don't really. If there was, I didn't notice it. So that's good. If you have CGI in a movie and I can't notice it and it looks real to me, that's good. I don't know if there was. There might not be, and I'm probably praising nothing right now. But there's just. And the fact that there's the dad character. Let's talk about the dad character. The dad character is much more interesting in this one than he was in the original, because this guy can actually act. Now, throughout the most of the movie, he is pretty interesting to watch. But when we get around closer to the end, I'm sitting there thinking a little bit, is there something about this guy? And I know that he's kind of losing me at this point. Yeah, I get he's going a little crazy, losing a kid and like losing all hope and all that stuff. But then around the end, like the end of the movie, you start to like him again. So the movie really takes you on an emotional ride with this character. So that really was something that I was like, huh. I'm very surprised that they did that with this movie, because I was sitting there this whole time like, they really, so, and the mom character, her character felt a little more drawn out, and like not in a bad way either, just like, looks like there was a little more to her story that she had in the original, and like, it's like that was probably one of my least favorite parts of the original as well. I did not like the whole sister subplot story thing of her, I wasn't a big fan of that in the original, and I can't lie, I wasn't a big fan of it in this one either. And there's a whole bunch of like scenes and like imagery and stuff in this movie. You can't tell if this is like the cemetery or whatever's power or whatever doing or being able to or the dead being able to manipulate things or anything like that. That's not clear. It may be clear through the books. Like now this one does. There's a whole bunch more that I know is from the books. Like the Wendigos is brought up in this movie, so that's a good thing. I love that that's brought more attention to. And the fact that it does make me feel a little more uncomfortable and a lot more creepy than the original. That's a step up from this movie. But this has a similar problem the original had. It gets boring at some points, and I cannot lie to you. guys, this movie at some point. Sorry, there's other people in here, but I cannot lie to you. This movie gets boring at points. You're like, okay, let's move on. Like, it gets boring at points, and that's just makes literally. There was like a whole scene where I was just looking down. When I was down looking at my phone, it's like, yeah, that scene's still going. Still going. Alright, the scene's done. But like, really, there were scenes that really just drug out and were pretty boring in this movie, and that was a problem I had with the original, and I can't believe that problem was carried over. Now, the big change, I'm going to get into some spoiler territory, so if you don't want any spoilers for this movie, leave the video now. You already know there's a child death in this movie, but it doesn't go the way you think it would if you've seen the original. Gage isn't the one that killed, it's his daughter. And that makes sense because there's a lot more focus on the daughter in this one than the original. And I would believe there was probably a little more focus on Gage in the original as well than there was on the daughter, or maybe not at all. I don't remember, but they really wanted you to resonate with the daughter before she died, and that was really, really interesting that they did that, and that's something I really liked. And they did a really clever thing in the movie where you think that Gage is gonna get hit, but then Gage gets saved, and then she gets hit, and that's really, really cool. And the thing that they do with the cat is very different because everyone starts to notice the weird way the cat's acting way better than they did in the original. And there's just so much difference in between this movie and the last one, and but even though when I heard a lot of people. Honestly, I was open-minded to this movie. Honestly, I can't say I was wowed by anything. I could say I was disappointed by some stuff. There wasn't really anything super about this movie. The thing is, though, there's nothing really super about the original either. There's nothing really great about the original. So really, this feels, even though there's a lot of changes, especially to the ending of the movie, the ending is so different. But even though it is different, there's so much in this that I don't think was enough to say this is a better movie, or it's not even worse. It just feels the same. Now, the kills in this movie, Judd's kill in this movie actually made my Achilles tendon hurt. Like, literally, back of your foot is called. Your Achilles tendon, it really actually made it hurt. I'm like, ooh, it actually still hurts thinking about it. And that was really, really creative, and that blew my mind that was actually a thing that they did with this movie, and I was like, wow, they actually did that. And it looked a lot better than it did in the original, even though the original looked pretty good, and it looked like practical effects. The guy that played Judd, he did a good job, but it wasn't the guy from the original. That was one of the gold stars of the original. Obviously, I'm pretty sure the guy that played Judd passed away, so they couldn't have brought him back anyway. They do give a little more character to Judd in this one. I do like that. Judd is expanded upon a little bit more. I do enjoy that. And the kills are a little more creative, but not really creative. They do feel a lot very slasher for this movie. And literally, this movie has a very different ending from the original, which I'm not going to give that away if you haven't seen the movie. Because the ending does really differentiate from, or if I'm saying that word right, from the original. Now, if the book ends like that, you'll see it coming. If it doesn't, I don't know. I haven't read the book. I don't know how accurate or how different the book is. I do want to read the book now that I've seen both versions, and I'm really curious on how the book takes this. Because it's very, I'm going to guess it's probably like this, because according to what I've been told, this movie's a lot more accurate to the book. But the thing is, the Pet Sematary was never really a great movie, because the main big thing that ever got Stephen King really everyone out there were two things, like a couple movies that really everybody go, whoa, and cool, too. That was It, which was actually a miniseries. And they were all originally books, which were It, Carrie, and what was the other one? The Shining. And even though there have been films of all those movies, those are all significantly better than both of these films. Because just something about the Pet Sematary story, it's an interesting concept, but it's not executed very well. Even though this one did take some risks, and there are some stuff I really liked about it. It was really interesting, and there was so much that did change, but that was still a pretty dull and boring movie for the most part. Like, I'm not gonna say I hated it. I had some enjoyment with it, but I literally don't know. I can't say if I enjoyed it less or if I enjoyed it the same amount, but I don't know, because this movie really left me with mixed emotions. Because yes, the ending is like, it's open to the imagination. You get to basically like, oh, okay, so what happened there? I'm curious, what happened? That's how I see walking out of this film. I'm like, whoa, that happened. Okay, let's see. And that really, really was interesting to me. And that's really all I can say about this movie. I'm gonna go just give it a 3 out of 5, put it the same as the original, because there's just so much about this movie that just really didn't sit well with me, but it was alright. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video nonetheless. If you did, please tap the like button down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!